Anyway, all right, let me continue. All right, I'm on Austria. This is where you guys are picking up now, right? All right, let's go, you guys, because I promised you guys we'll be out in 15 minutes. I'd like to be out of here in 10, so let's go on. Austria-Hungary, the last we found out about them, they were getting their butts kicked by Bismarck in 1866. In fact, that should be an anchor date, all right? 1866, the Austro-Prussian War.
Attention, please, with Bob Edwards. Please come to the main office. Bob Edwards, please come to the main office.
Coming.
The Austrians lost, and to make it even worse, the Hungarians in their empire, who had tried to fight for their independence and lost in 1848, now try again and succeed, all right? So in the year 1866, you don't just want the Austro-Prussian War, you also want to put down that the Hungarians win their independence, and now the Austrian Empire is called the Austrian-Hungarian Empire, or Austria-Hungary, or the Austro-Hungarian Empire. Which is why some of you might recognize that at World War I, it's not called Austria, it's called Austria-Hungary. This is why. In 1866, Hungary won its independence, but decided to stay jointly attached to the Austrian Empire. We also call it the dual monarchy, all right? So Austria-Hungary or Austro-Hungarian Empire, Hungary has joint rule with the Austrians, all right? Okay. And by the end of this, actually by the end of 1848, I don't think I mentioned this in any of the three classes, 1848, at the end of that Austrian Revolution, they, just like the Russians now, have their last emperor. His name is Franz Joseph. Franz Joseph will rule the Austrian Empire from 1848, when he's 18, until all the way till
World War II?
no, not World War II. The middle of World War I. He will die in 1917. But it is his grandnephew, the heir to his throne, who will be assassinated by a Serbian nationalist in 1914. Archduke Franz Ferdinand. So that is why Franz Joseph is the last emperor. Franz Ferdinand never becomes emperor. Isn't that cool? Isn't that crazy? 1848 to 1914. He rules.
Like 70 years.
Huh? Alright, what? Alright.
Is he an anchor person or no?
Yeah. Maybe I'll make him one later.
Wait, Austrian
Make him one later.
or he's an Austrian?
I haven't decided. I can't think right now. My brain is so
Austin?
stuffed up. Alright, let me finish because I want to go home. I'm just going to have you read this part about anti-Semitism. I already gave you an example of this because of the Alfred Dreyfus affair. All right, a lot of people were quite frankly against Jews in this time period. All right, that will culminate in World War II with the Holocaust. Okay. I will point you out on the last page of that section on the Jews. I'm not going to fight for your attention, all right? There are a couple of bold terms, and you should be familiar with them. The Russian Jews were treated horribly, all right? And they were oppressed and organized in these riots known as pogroms. So Jews would be rounded up, beaten, killed, raped. It was very systematic in Russia, all right? So we normally associate, the Nazis against the Jews so much. But this hatred towards the Jews started way before, all right, the Holocaust of the 1940s. Finally, a lot of the Jews of Europe started to dream of going back to their homeland, back to the Middle East. By the way, where they had not been since the Romans kicked them out in about AD 70, all right? It's a long time since they've had a country.
I know, right?
They won't have their country back until after World War I. 1948 was the creation of modern-day Israel. And it's been a very volatile thing indeed, right? Theodor Herzl was the leader of this idea, all right, of trying to go back to Israel. By the way, that movement is known as the Zionist movement, trying to go back to form a home country of Israel, okay? All right. International Socialist movement. Marxism grows very rapidly, especially in Eastern Europe, all right? And anytime you see these terms, First International or Second International, that just refers to the idea that it's a large international socialist organization. Why international? Because remember, Marx was not a nationalist. He believed that the workers should join across national lines, okay? So if you see a term like First International, Second, just associate that with socialist movements, okay? Oh, goodness. All right, finally, revisionism. This is actually a really important topic on this guide, all right? Revisionism refers to revising the socialist agenda, all right? Revising the socialist agenda. And actually, mainly the Marxist socialist agenda, all right? Because if you'll recall, Marx said that the only way workers can get their rights is by how?
Being oppressed.
Is by violently taking over the means of production. And what about the government? There should not be a government. The revisionists are, by the late 19th century, are starting to say, look, we can have a more tame socialist movement without the violence. Because we workers are starting to get benefits without the violence. And you should be able to give me a handful of examples. What do workers now have by the late 19th century in most industrialized nations?
Male suffrage.
Male suffrage. France, what year?
1848.
Germany, what year?
1871.
Britain, what year?
1884.
Do you see what I'm saying? You guys should know that off the top of your head if you were to write an essay. All right? What else do most countries have the right to?
Well, unionize and strike.
Right to unionize and strike. France got that in 1848. Germany got that 1871. Britain got it with Disraeli and the Conservatives. All right? Social Security.
In Germany.
In Germany, Bismarck gave it. All right? You're absolutely correct. Okay? That's the kind of stuff I want to hear. All right? So there's proof. By the way, in more general terms, wages have gone up. All right? Unions have won the right to organize and strike, and they're working. All right? Wages have gone up. Hours have been shortened. By the way, prove to me that workers have more leisure time and more money to spend on things that are not necessities.
Appearances of things like music halls and stuff.
Yeah.
And they
Parks.
underwear.
Parks, music halls, public transportation on the weekends, which indicates they actually now have weekends, all right? So all those things go to say that workers don't need violence. They can get what they want through peaceful means, mainly through elections and unions and strikes. The person who led this movement is called Edward Bernstein. He is an anchor person. He's the father of the revisionist movement. By the way, the radical Marxists would have called these guys sellouts. You sold out your party. We still need violence. We still need to kill the middle class, all that kind of stuff, all right? All right. And then, last thing on this sheet I want to point out. And I said this in second block today. Throughout Europe, there are tons of socialist parties. Jean Jaurès in France would be associated with it. The Fabian Party in Britain. If you see the word social, if you see the word democratic, that's an indication that it's one of these revisionist socialist groups. Okay? Wow, that was a lot, huh? I told you there was a lot in this packet. Questions? Does anyone need a sheet for a friend?
I say the word, just an outline.
Oh, yeah, we're not writing a full-blown essay yet.
Yeah.
No, in fact, I want to talk to you guys after the test about the museum. So. Permission slips. I need those ASAP.